got that. And so reducing your risk of Alzheimer's, what to do and what to eat. So I am, let me see if I can do this here. Okay, so my name is Andrea Nicolai, and I'm the person talking on the left. I work at the University of Florida in Polk County. I'm the family and consumer science agent, and I'm also the registered dietitian. So I love talking about food and nutrition. So that's my job. And then Sylvia, do you want to introduce yourself? You have to unmute yourself first. I can't hear you yet.
Hi, everybody, and welcome. My name is Sylvia Letty. I am a program manager with the Alzheimer's Association Florida Gulf Coast chapter.
All right, so just quick things today. So we have a chat box, and if you, sometimes the controls don't show up on your screen, and if they don't, you can just kind of hover over the bottom of the screen and then you should get them to show up. And there's a ... And if you click on that, it'll have an option for chat. And if you guys have any questions or comments that you'd want to ask us, please feel free to put them in there and we will try to answer them. And then lastly, before we get started, we have a short evaluation that's going to be sent to you guys following the webinar. And if you don't mind doing it, it really helps us to get better, and so that we know like what parts we need to go faster and what parts you're kind of missing, you know, so that we can be better if we ever get your attention again. So that's what we have for you today, and this is mine. But first, before that, Sylvia is going to present a lot of the information, just what we know in general. So Sylvia, you want to take it away? You can share.
Sure do.
Let me know if you have problems, okay?
All right, you need to stop sharing. Okay, I think I'm having some technical difficulties here.
Let's see here if there's anything maybe for you. I see your screen, Sylvia.
Okay, here we go. All right, so welcome to our program of Reduce Your Risk of Alzheimer's, What to Do and What to Eat. This program is designed to offer you research-based recommendations about taking care of our brains and our bodies in order to age as well as possible. So let us start by talking about the factors that contribute to how human beings age. So we have always heard that it's very important to take care of our bodies. And sometimes we forget to take care of our brain in the same way. So the body and brain are connected, and what's good for the brain is good for the heart. So the brain controls all of our bodily functions, including thought and movement. It is the control center for the entire body. Much of the body-brain connection is due to the fact that the brain is nourished by the body's richest network of blood vessels. Oxygen and other elements delivered to the brain through the blood system keep the brain nourished. So there are four domains, four areas that we can concentrate on to better taking care of ourselves as we age. In these uncertain times, it's even more important to take care of our body and brain with new safety measures that have been imposed because of COVID-19. So the media plays a big role in keeping us informed of what is going on with this pandemic, but sometimes it can be overwhelming at the same time. So some of the new measures established in our daily life include using face masks and practicing social distancing. Even with these measures, we need to make sure we continue to take care of ourselves because sometimes we forget to do that. So there are certain forms of aging that are common to all of us, and many of them are beyond our control. When we reach adulthood, gray hair comes out, we get the wrinkles, and our eyes do not focus as well when reading. However, some of us will color our hair, some of us might do some little work on our faces. So, however, there are differences in the way we age, and this depends on our genes. There are people that age better than others. Each of us has a genetic predisposition of growing old in a certain way. For example, some families have a longer longevity and go well into their 90s or more. Other families tend to develop diseases that limit their longevity. All these factors are beyond our control. Still, there are many aspects of aging that we do have some control over. For example, lifestyle and environmental factors can be associated with how we age. So even in families with a genetic predisposition to certain conditions, certain environmental or lifestyle modifications can help the course of these conditions. So we can start by adopting habits that can improve our general health. And these habits can help us maintain the health of our body and brain as we age. So we're going to explore 4 aspects of healthy aging. So let's start by exploring the area of physical health and exercise. The most important recommendation is to be as active as you can be and to incorporate an activity that you enjoy so you will continue to engage in it. A lot of us sometimes we're very hyper at the beginning and we're all hyped up and then we kind of get bored. So you want to use or start doing something that you are going to engage in for a long time. Don't be like me. I bought a super expensive treadmill and I used it for like 30 days. And now it helps to hang my clothes on. So again, you want to do something that you enjoy. If this is new for you, you want to start out small. The little changes add up, and research shows that 20 to 30 minutes of walking a few times a week can have health benefits. So you want to participate in cardiovascular activity regularly. This will increase blood flow to the brain and to the body, providing additional nourishment. However, be sure to move safely to avoid injury. So if you're going to take the stairs instead of the elevator, you want to make sure that you hold on to the rails. You can maybe take out your dog for a walk. However, it is very, very important to consult with your doctor before beginning any new exercise program. There is no need for you to go to the gym and spend money on a membership or buy expensive equipment. There is no single recipe. What works for you may not work for me. But again, you want to do something that you enjoy. So other things that you can do is avoid smoking and alcohol. Studies have shown that smoking increases the risk of cognitive decline. Additional benefits of stopping smoking include a lower risk of heart attacks, stroke, and lung disease, better blood circulation, and avoiding exposing others to secondhand smoke. Excessive drinking of alcohol can have some negative consequences, including slow or impaired communication among brain cells, fuzzy memory and drowsiness, long-term changes in balance, memory, emotions, coordination, and body temperature. So, another thing that you can do is you want to get enough sleep. Inadequate sleep due to conditions like insomnia or sleep apnea can cause problems with memory and thinking. Another thing you can do is avoid head injuries. Head injuries and falls can contribute to physical and cognitive difficulties. We're seeing a lot of football players, boxers, that because of the injuries that they've received, sometimes this can lead to some cognitive difficulties. Another thing you can do is monitor your stress level. You want to take steps to minimize it, especially in these times of uncertainty, not to mention the media. You want to take a break and stop watching, reading, or listening to the news. When you turn on the news, all we hear is COVID, coronavirus. So you want to take a break from that. This includes social media as well. Hearing about the pandemic, civil unrests, and even hurricanes here in Florida repeatedly can affect you. Take time to relax. Talk to people you trust about your concerns and how you are feeling. Meditation can also help coping with stress. But again, it's important to remember to consult your physician before starting any new regimen. Some people might have some limitations due to cardiovascular issues. So again, please, there's several things that you can do. So that's our first domain. Our second domain is diet and nutrition. So again, we know that a healthy fueling of the body benefits brain health. Nutritious food is fuel for the brain. My colleague, Andrea, is going to go more in depth into this. So I'm going to skip this domain. So moving on, the next domain is cognitive activity. So let's explore this. This is just activity and keeping our minds active. Anything that uses your mind in challenging ways is a cognitive activity and can possibly have short and long-term benefits for your brain. Cognitive stimulation is defined as the mental processing of information. So, how can we exercise our brains? Well, you can read books and articles that challenge and inspire you. You can work on crossword puzzles or word search, chess. Learn a new language, especially now that we're all kind of sheltering in place. This is the perfect time to learn a new language. I'm tutoring somebody to learn Spanish. Another thing you can do is also learn how to play a new instrument or try some new recipes. You want to learn new skills or hobbies. You want to seek opportunities for learning in this new virtual way that we all are. But again, make sure to choose activities that you're going to enjoy. This will increase the likelihood that you will continue to engage in them over time. Moving on to our next aspect and final aspect is social engagement. So, social engagement is interacting with others in a social setting. However, in this moment of social distancing, although we're not able to meet in a social environment, we can still interact with other people and stay social and connected. You can do this via phone or email. Talk to your family and friends. You want to embrace technology. You can schedule texts, video chats, groups, Skype, FaceTime. I have not been able to visit my grandbaby, so I do a lot of FaceTime. Get in touch with your neighbors. It's a comfort to know that they are close. Don't forget to get some fresh air. You can take some time to walk outside or even sit out on your porch. If you can't do that, maybe you want to open your windows to hear the birds or listen to the rain. Maybe you want to take some virtual classes like you are now. Or even, writing letters, which not a lot of us do anymore. So those who are engaged with other people also tend to have reduced rates of mortality and disability. So remember, it's never too late or too early to start living in a more healthy way. So take care of your health, get moving, keep your mind active, and stay connected to others. Diet is the other component, which Andrea will discuss shortly. So if you combine all these aspects, they can provide greater benefits to maintaining or improving the health of the body and the brain. Now, if you have any questions, you can always put them in the chat. So I hope that you learned something of the three aspects, and the last aspect is diet and nutrition, which Andrea will now talk about. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and Andrea will share hers. Andrea?
All right, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
And do you see a full screen there, or do you see anything blocking the screen?
Nope, everything looks good.
All right, thank you guys. Okay, so I'm just going to talk about eating more. So Sylvia kind of did the overview for us, but I'm going to definitely dive a little bit deeper into this one. And please feel free again to put any comments in the chat box, and that would be great. So I'm just eating for brain health. So make sure I can click here. We got it. Okay. So what we're going to talk about today, just briefly for me anyway, is what it is then the MIND diet, which is the diet I'm specifically going to talk about, the research findings behind it, what to eat, and then how we can make it work for you. Because the bottom line is what I want you to do is actually apply something that you've learned from this presentation today, and so that you guys can live longer with a better brain. And so just quick things, I guess, our leading causes of death, and I know some of you aren't even in this county, but you know, they're very similar across the country, maybe slightly reordered. But for us anyway, it's heart disease, cancer, chronic lower respiratory disease, and stroke. So then we have unintentional injury, which is number 5. And so it's like the top 4 all have to do with, you know, diet and nutrition. And the nice thing about all that I'm going to talk about today, like everything that it's looking like is specifically good for the mind is also really good for all those top 4 things. So even if you are, you know, just you're like, well, I don't like diets or like different ways of eating, whatever. But if you can incorporate just one of them, you know, it'll have multiple benefits, I guess is what I'm trying to get at. Okay. So then, and yeah, just the other point would be number 7 is actually Alzheimer's. So a lot of times people with Alzheimer's might die of something else first, but if they don't, then number 7 is where we're at. And it's the 6th leading cause of death in the United States. So it's a number that is expected to grow. And then more than 2/3 of the Americans that have Alzheimer's are women. And so just, I guess, something of note. So what causes it? So just like Sylvia was saying, you know, like it looks like that, you know, it's not just genetics, you know, sometimes people think that, but it's a big lifestyle factors component also. So just, you know, what we eat might play a significant role in who gets it and who doesn't. And that's why I was really interested in working with Sylvia, especially in getting the word out, just because it's looking like really what you can eat can really make a difference. So I think that is so cool. And so the researchers, they're hoping to come up like with the optimal diet. And this is the closest that we have so far. All right. So where does this come from? So, you know, I'm talking about diet, but it's not like a fad diet. It's just something I want you to try to incorporate over your life. You know, if you could just do one more thing from this presentation, that would be great. So we're talking about the MIND diet, and, you know, Sylvia with Alzheimer's Association, they teach the same thing. And it stands for the Mediterranean-Intervention for Neurodegenerative Delay. So that's where they got that. That's pretty clever. So if you guys have heard of the Mediterranean diet, so there's the Mediterranean diet, and then there's this DASH diet. So that's a really good one if you have high blood pressure. Like a great doctor might suggest that you try to eat more like the DASH diet. So it's both of those have a lot of fruits and vegetables, less animal foods, lots of plants. things like that, but it's just looking like there's a lot of benefits for those, especially with brain health. So that's why they kind of looked at those foods right away, and then they added others as needed, but then they targeted the ones that were especially known to be good for brain. So that's a lot about that. But just, here's kind of the background. So the study compared this diet. So they kind of took everything that they knew was especially looking like it's good for the brain. And they compared all those foods, people who ate those, compared with the Mediterranean diet and compared with the DASH diet. So there were 923 people aged 58 to 98 years. So it'd be people like you guys, and they just were scored, given points if you ate more of these foods, like in each of the categories, and less of the healthful ones. So then they followed the people. And so over that time, over 4.5 years, 144 of the people developed Alzheimer's disease. So then they went back, and they found that all 3 of those diets, like when people were closely following them, they were really helpful against Alzheimer's. So that's good. You can do Mediterranean diet, you can do the DASH diet and stuff like that. But just, and then it's like the MIND diet, the ones we're talking about today, it reduced their risk by 53%. So if you can see it up there on that slide, like the Mediterranean actually reduced it by 54%. And so you guys are probably thinking, why wouldn't I just do the Mediterranean diet? So this is what makes this different, is that the MIND diet, it's just that people who just, did like a little bit of the MIND diet, ate especially those foods, but, didn't adhere to it very well. So that's kind of a lot of words on that slide. But if you didn't adhere to the diets very well, then this one showed the most benefits. And so people who even followed it moderately well, and so that's more likely, I guess, for us in America, is just we tend to, kind of go off and on things. But people who are following it moderately well were 35% less likely to develop the disease. So, Mediterranean DASH diet, they didn't have those benefits. So you either go all in and then you get the brain health, or, it didn't have quite as much benefits as this one. So that's why we're talking about it, is there's huge benefits to it. And then just, they found, it's kind of cool, the people who ate most like this diet had the cognitive function equivalent to being 7.5 years younger. So that's pretty cool. And then they found that the longer the person followed this, so, start today, guys, the lower the risk of developing Alzheimer's disease. And I'm just, U.S. News and Real World Report, they put out the best diets for each year. And so they've done it for 2020, 2019 and stuff. But they rated them, they ranked them based on, they have to be nutrition based, and they have to be, generally healthful, safe, easy, and things like that. And then they ranked each of these diets on the best for heart disease, the best for weight loss, the best for, easiest to follow. But they found that overall, just the best diets for anything like heart disease, cancer, whatever, number 5 was MIND diet, tied with the Mayo Clinic. So it's I'm saying this diet is number 1, probably for brain health, right? But for just overall, it's really awesome too. So you can't go wrong, is what I'm trying to get at here. Okay, so just, you're kind of okay, so what do I eat now? So there's no food groups that are outright eliminated. So that's nice. Sometimes there's you definitely heard of diets where there's, just a lot of specific foods, and there's no unusual foods. You don't have to go on Amazon and try to find weird stuff. And there's something for everybody. So remembering, even following it just a little bit will really help. So, okay, so I'm going to dive into each of these a little bit more, but just overall, the 10 brain healthy food groups, they're the leafy greens, the nuts, berries, beans, whole grains, fish, poultry, olive oil, and wine. Okay. And then the 5 unhealthy, so these are ones that they found did not help people. And they were the red meats, fried and fast foods. You guys are duh. All right. Butter and stick margarine, cheese, pastries, and sweets. So the 10 foods just I want you to try to eat more of then would be the green vegetables, right? Excuse me. One other vegetable for sure. So this is each day, right? Nuts, try to have one serving daily, and that would be about the size of a palmful, handful like that. So not the whole container. You don't need the whole container to get the benefits. The berries, 2 or more servings a week, especially blueberries and strawberries. Beans, they really found that people who ate more beans, 3 to 4 servings a week, really helped them. Whole grains, if you can try to have at least 3 servings every day. So that would be, you know, switching like whole wheat bread for white bread. Fish, they found that just having it at least 1 time a week would be great. And then poultry, at least 2 servings a week. Olive oil, and this one should be your primary cooking oil then. And wine, they actually found that 1 glass a day did help. So all of you who like wine are celebrating. Let's see. Okay, so then the 5 foods to avoid would be red meats. So they really found that people did better when they had less than 4 servings a week. And butter, stick margarine, less than a tablespoon a day. Cheese, this one, I get a lot of people come up to me after class. They're like, I can't cut the cheese. So less than 1 serving a week. And the idea is just that, you know, with these foods, it's a lot of saturated fat. It's looking like tends to harm the blood-brain barrier. And cheese is actually one of our highest sources of saturated fat. So that's why like the whole milk cheese is kind of the one, you know, just it has a lot of saturated fat. So just using it in moderation, I guess. Sprinkle it on versus layered on. And then pastries and sweets, less than 5 servings a week. So you get a little something, but just don't go overboard, right? And fried or fast foods, you know, this could be a real big cut for some people, is less than 1 serving a week. So just, I guess, thinking of that. And just going back to the cheese thing, one more thing is that mozzarella cheese does tend, they call it low moisture part skim for a reason. And so it just has a little bit less fat. But I would suggest, you know, on that, I see somebody asked, you know, is there a healthier cheese? And I would say just trying to use it as a garnish more than a main event. So you know how like you get a pizza, right? And it's like covered with the cheese. So the idea would be more like there's that margarita pizza, I think it is called, where it red tomato sauce, right? And then there's like the sprinkles of mozzarella on there. So it's kind of like using that or using Parmesan, which has a ton of flavor, but you don't need as much to get a lot of that cheesy like flavor. So just trying to have foods more like topped with the cheese versus layered with the cheese, I guess, if that makes sense. So that's overall, and that would help, especially here we get a lot of cheese. So then just kind of to get an idea what this might look like for your week. So it's including, you know, like 3 servings of whole grains every day, trying to have a salad every day and 1 other vegetable for sure, along with maybe a glass of wine. And then, you know, when you're having snacks, you know, try to have nuts on most days, and then, you know, include beans every other day or so. So that's a lot, you know, cook up a pot of beans, and then poultries and berries at least twice a week, and then fish at least once a week. So trying to limit like unhealthy foods, especially butter, less than a tablespoon a day, whole fat cheese, and fried and fast foods. Okay, so quick things. I know that was kind of a lot, but just to quickly dive into that a little more, let's do a time check. Okay, so just leafy greens, I would say if there's anything you guys could add to your diet, if you guys just don't take anything away from this, I would say one food, if you can do it, would be the leafy greens. It's looking like they have the biggest benefits on the brain. And so just 1 serving every day, and that would be a ½ cup cooked or 1 cup raw. So you know, if you love salads, that's great. Then you can just have a salad every day or something, you know, just trying to include that. Some people don't love salads. And so I would say then some ideas might be to cook up some, and, you know, you can sneak spinach in a lot of things or just different greens. So the darker, the better. And it's looking like kale, collards, you know, beet greens, spinach, like lettuce, top salad, they seem to offer the biggest protection, but you can cook those and kind of put them in lasagna or with pasta or with eggs, or there's even a spinach like dessert brownie. It does turn green. My mom tried that one for me. She said the green color was a little bit, you know, off-putting, but I would say maybe you could add a little bit of cocoa powder. So anyway, just trying to have it some way would be really great. And I wanted to say too, you know, when spinach extract, so this is not with people, but it's kind of cool still, it was given to rats, right? It improved their strength, their balance, their mental abilities, and it made the brain neurons more responsive. So it's cool. Sometimes, like, you know, we can learn from that. You know, we're not rats, but that might be, you know, why it worked for us too. You know, just if you have trouble remembering which foods are good for your brain, just remember Popeye. You know, he's strong and he's smart. I think he was pretty smart. I don't know, maybe not. I need to watch it again. Okay, so leafy greens, then just one more thing about that, you know, just trying to have at least, you know, people who ate at least 2 servings of vegetables a day, you know, and especially they when they had the 2 servings a day, they had like a big dramatic decrease in the cognitive decline compared to with people who ate fewer. But like they found that it was equivalent to being 11 years younger than age. So if you want to keep your brain healthy, you know, just trying to include some leafy greens would be great. And then the other one is they really want you to have at least 1 other vegetable a day. So, you know, you're having like the greens at some point, and then just trying to have like some tomatoes. You know, if you're doing spinach lasagna, you have tomatoes in there. So that would be 1 vegetable, but just trying to choose any of the other colors, right? So eating the rainbow, different colors, they're all different nutrients are really good for you. So trying to do that can help you the most. So the strongest association with leafy greens a day, and then with at least 1 other serving of vegetables. So berries at least 2 times a week. So if you guys like having, you know, something on your cereal in the mornings, or if you guys like having things for snacks and you really enjoy fruit for dessert, you know, one thing would be to just really try to choose the blueberries and the strawberries. And, you know, frozen, they go straight from the field to being frozen. So those are really good options too. So I know just, you know, they're not always available all the time. But, and other people, you know, they ask me about other foods, you know, other fruit, you know, well, they say, you know, well, what about like bananas or pears and things like that? And it's just that what we found is like the ones that are actually specifically great for your brain would be these 2 berries, especially. So it looks like blueberries can help with memory, and then strawberries are motor function. So I guess whatever you need more of, right? So just trying to do some more of that. And they kind of go in and, you know, they fight off those free radicals that provide that damage. Then it reduces toxic proteins that accumulate with age. So it's really cool. Just think about like once you eat that, how that's helping you. I don't know. It's pretty cool. And then nuts, at least 5 servings a week. So that would be about a 4th cup, that handful. If you have a shot glass that you're now going to use for wine, just trying to, you know, do that when you can. And so that would be about a 4th cup most days. And they also, you know, they lower blood pressure and bad cholesterol, and they help prevent against diabetes too. And, you know, so all these things, you know, diabetes, I was talking to Sylvia, is one of the risk factors for Alzheimer's disease. So it's like preventing that will help us. And so it also looks like walnuts could be the king with that. And you can kind of tell their picture there. They kind of look like a brain, and if that helps you. But research has suggested that the concentration and speed at which your brain processes information is increased by walnuts. So they also might help you sleep. So if you have a dessert at night, you can sprinkle some walnuts on there, on the berries, right? So the beans then, so legumes are anything in a pod. So that would be like the beans or the lentils, things like that. So having a 1/2 cup cooked a day is a serving. So that's kidney beans, pinto beans, black beans, chickpeas, whichever kind you like. So the baked beans would have a little extra sugar, but maybe you could try mixing some normal beans in there, or mix some spinach with the baked beans. Just anything, you know, just to kind of decrease that sugar a little bit. But I would love for you guys to get some beans, because they help provide a steady stream of that fuel to the brain, and it looks like that could be good. And it also help lower your cholesterol, so that is good for keeping the, you know, the vessels open to your brain, because the cholesterol can clog it. Okay, so whole grains, that would be at least 3 servings a day. So this would just be, you know, like if you usually have grits in the morning, if you could switch to oatmeal, that would be one change you could make that would be healthier for your brain. Or trying to choose whole wheat bread instead of white bread, or, you know, maybe you make like a bread at your house now that COVID hit, and now you're baking all the time. So, instead of using some bread flour, maybe you could use some white whole wheat flour. Just try to include that when you can. So they really help that cardiovascular system. So that's like getting the blood to your brain and like all those blood vessels. So that's why the whole grains are really important. And there's that fiber, too. It helps you feel full and helps prevent other diseases. So if your brain doesn't get that flow that it needs, you can't repair your memory and your thinking ability. So just really trying to include those things. So the fish, just even one serving a week, and that would be 3 ounces cooked. So that's about the size of a checkbook. And so it would be like oily fish such as salmon, trout, sardines, herring. They have this DHA, and it's essential for brain function. So it's like they have found that DHA is thought to slow the brain aging and improve memory and thinking skills. That's really cool. It also helps prevent the buildup of this. If you guys have read a lot about Alzheimer's, but there's a Alzheimer's related protein called beta amyloid, and it can reduce that buildup. And so just, some people ask me, why not, have this every day? And I think more would probably be good, but just that they found that the people who at least ate it one time a day, they had like this huge increase. And then like after every other time, it was just like a little bit more. So that's why they're like at least one serving a week. And then the fried fish, I did a lot of research on this because some people are like, well, I eat it fried, like fried fish sandwich. So it doesn't offer the benefits. And so I looked up some studies on that, but it just changes like the DHA a little bit. So it's not good for you then. And they checked the DHA levels afterwards and it totally decreased. So yeah, so try not to fry it. Grilling it, baking it, broiling it, microwaving it, sushi, any of those would be better. Okay, so poultry, at least 2 servings a week then. And that would be, poultry is like considered chicken or turkey, just so less red meat. That's what is associated with the lower risk of that Alzheimer's disease then. And using olive oil as your primary cooking oil. So it has that monounsaturated fat and it's really good for your heart, can help reduce inflammation and prevents this blood vessel dysfunction then. So that's why the olive oil is really good. And I just did a lot of research. A kind lady who was in one of my classes, she had emailed me a couple of questions on cooking with it. And, it really has a higher smoke point, or, it can be cooked to higher temperatures than a lot of people think, even the extra virgin. So don't be afraid to sometimes use that, when you might use another oil, because it's pretty good for you. And then wine, so it looks like one serving about 5 ounces, right? So that would be a little bit more than half cup. And so, I know a 4th cup is like a palmful, right? So it'd be a couple of those. So not like a huge amount, but just one serving a day could preserve the memory and reduce the risk of Alzheimer's. And, they didn't specify red or white. So if you like white, that can also maybe help too. And, I don't think that we're actually really sure if it's the alcohol, the combination of the antioxidants and the alcohol, like what it is. So it's like, looks like it might have anti-inflammatory effects, but too much can damage the brain. And they were really, like the research, it really says that, once you go over, it's not good. So, and I also looked up too, like it's looking like the evidence isn't clear, but it looks like it does increase the risk of breast cancer, having any alcohol. So I would say if you don't drink right now, don't start, but maybe you can do some of the other stuff, but that would be my summary on that. So just quickly then, just limiting the brain on healthy foods. I've talked really fast. You guys are doing awesome. So just trying to steer clear of the butter and margarine, right, when you can. And then fried and fast foods. So, maybe get a salad instead, or just trying to get it grilled if you go out. And then using oils instead of the butter, margarine. And then red meat, try to eat, that fewer than 4 times a week. And, if you're having a double cheeseburger, I'm counting that as twice. So, that's just less than 4 times a week. I think with a lot of Americans, that can add up pretty quickly. So full fat cheese, trying to do it less than once a week. And then pastries and sweets, less than 5 times a week. So a couple of days, maybe just really try to have fruit and not have any really desserts that day. Okay. So a good note though, if you do on the desserts, right, coffee and cocoa, the research is looking at, they could be added to in the future, but there's not enough research out there right now to add them to the diet. And then they found that diets high in trans fats were really, really bad for the brain. So if you see anything on the labels that still say trans fats other than 0, put it back on the shelf. It's not worth it. So they actually banned it now. So it would just be banned it as of January. So it's just, if you find something on the shelf, which I just did, it's just still there from their last making of the product. So really, those would be the things I'd have to say on that. And lastly, I just talked about the diet a lot, but I just wanted to say that, the diet is looking like it plays a big role. It's just one aspect of those things Sylvia talked about. And it's looking like all of those are pretty, like have a big role. So if you think about just what the diet can do, like they found that exercise was huge also. And then managing your stress would lower it even more, just like what Sylvia was talking about, just trying to, sometimes whatever it takes to manage your stress. But the higher the fitness level, like it slowed the brain shrinkage. And so I thought that was pretty cool. So if it's not too nasty outside, maybe you guys could go outside or something and then have some fruit when you come back in. So then the other thing I just wanted to quick, so we have just a couple minutes, so I'll see if there's any questions. But just really, how do you make it work for you, right? Is kind of the down home message. And I hope maybe you guys could put some ideas in the chat box, just if you have any ideas on what you could switch, right? Because I think sometimes that's the hardest thing. You're like, oh, I already do that. Great, but I would want you to see if you could add in one more thing, because that would help your brain a ton. So like I have pictures there, right? The snacking on the strawberries, or putting blueberries on your pancakes in the morning, or having more vegetables on your pizza, a little bit less cheese. You can call in the cheese and just, you could say, add extra tomato sauce, half the cheese, and they'll do that for you. So that's an idea if you're eating pizza. So see if we have any questions. And then the other thing, sorry, my mouth is dry. So just try to complete the short evaluation. We'll send it to you following this. And just it really helps so that we can know how to be better and how to do this better. Really, really appreciate that. So Sylvia and I were actually doing a couple of classes together coming up in Spanish. So if you speak Spanish and you want to listen again, we're doing a diabetes one and then this one. And if you can help me spread the word, that would be great. It's a population I don't always get to reach. So that, and then I have some other cool ones like next week, cooking for a vegetarian or vegan. Some people have talked to me and they said that they know one, but they don't know how to cook for them. And so we're going to be talking about that. And then a pressure cooking one later, a growing and cooking. So some good ones coming up. But now just, I wanted to hear, I know it's coming up on 12 and I don't want to keep you guys very long, but just if you have any comments, questions, or like, I guess how you could make this work for you, maybe how you could have turkey instead of red meat, that would be great. Because I think people learn the most from other people. That's the hard thing about not having in-person classes is, people can just yell out ideas and what they say works. But just let's see if we have anything here. Is there any evidence that good question? I have looked in that. It looks like, if it is the antioxidants, the red grapes have a ton. They found that the green ones have a little bit less. So I would say if you do the grapes, but they have found grape juice, it does have a lot of the antioxidant benefits. We're just not sure, I think, if it's somewhat the alcohol too. But I would say yes, grape juice would be it, like, especially if you buy juice. I know I'm in Florida, so buy orange or grape juice. But yeah, that would be a good one. And just try to get the red grape juice, or red grapes would be even better for the extra fiber. And then Bernice said, oh my gosh, Bernice said she adds a half cup of spinach to her steel cut oats each day, and she puts it in the last minute of cooking. So they wilt, but they don't lose the nutrients by overcooking. That's cool. Because then, you know, sometimes when you boil the greens too, I was just reading, more of the nutrients actually get in the water than in the actual greens. So somebody was saying you'd be better off drinking the water. So just really, you know, if you do boil your greens, just remember to try to use the water for soups or something like that. So that's great. She's putting it straight in the oatmeal. Yeah, no taste. I love that about spinach. It's kind of a subtle one. So thanks for suggesting that. Does anybody else? Okay, Tabitha said she does more turkey, which is good. Sometimes people just think of it as in Thanksgiving time. So, and Donna said she adds ground flaxseed to Greek yogurt along with fruit. Yeah, that would be good. So I guess I would say, Donna, if I could get you to add the blueberries and then the strawberries too. And yeah, Lisa also asked if this is going to be recorded. So the idea is yes. So we're going to put it on YouTube so that you guys can watch it again and again if you want. So let me think if there's anything else. And Donna said blueberries, of course. And then, yeah, Lisa suggested too, just meal prepping can help her, you know, so I guess just planning it out before you go to the store. And you guys, I know berries are sometimes expensive, but you guys are worth it. So you guys can try to get the frozen ones or the fresh ones. Sometimes let yourself if you like them. So that would be good. Does anybody else have any questions? Or Sylvia, do you have anything else you want to add? Otherwise, we'll let you guys go.
No, all I want to say is for somebody who does not really eat salads or vegetables, some of your pictures looked really good. And I'm already thinking of ways of how I can kind of trick my brain, just like Bernice was saying about the spinach. So sometimes you just have to trick your brain.
So do you have one idea that might work for you? And then we'll end this.
Well, I think I'm going to start with the spinach since it doesn't have any flavor. I'll just add it to some stuff. Tabitha is saying sweet potatoes and tacos. Well, I love tacos, so and I like sweet potatoes, but I don't know if I like sweet potatoes in my tacos, but I can always try that.
Would you cook some spinach in there and see what you could do? Maybe you could disguise it in there.
Yes. Yeah. And I think a lot of it sometimes for me has to do with the smell or even how it looks, but the taste is just totally different. You know, sometimes I kind of let my other senses guide me. And if it doesn't look good or if it doesn't smell good, I don't eat it. But that's not necessarily true.
Well, it's not always easy. So hopefully one of the pictures will make it look better. And yeah, if you can disguise it in, like, if you use tomatoes or something, or do you use a salsa in your tacos or not?
No, I'm a poor excuse of a Mexican. I don't like beans or hot stuff.
Okay, so I'd really have to disguise it in there. So yeah, we would work with you, I guess. That would be fun.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
well, thank you everybody. That's good. And hopefully I'll see you at another class then. And yeah, Tabitha said she makes homemade salsa. Okay, so she's coming over to bring some later, right, Tabitha? Okay, and then corn flour is worse than flour. I would just say if you get whole wheat tortillas, that would be better. And if Sylvia makes her own corn tortillas, I've actually heard of people who add spinach in their tortillas right when they make them. So there's another option. Just maybe.
Oh yeah.
I know she's like, I don't make mine, but maybe I should. Okay, so yeah. Okay. All right. Well, we'll end this, and I really hope you guys have a great day and stay safe. Okay.
Thank you, everybody. Hope you learned something.
All right. Bye, guys.
Bye.